The world is changing, and so does change. But the mind has the potential to capture the changing world and make every change count. At Skillsmindset, the leading global skills, strategy and corporate development company, we believe that the mind has the potential of transforming the man from obscurity to prominence. It's the reason why we make skills our business. At Skillsmindset, we stand for change, for development and for success. We challenge, we inspire and we lead. With Skillsmindset, your limit is just the beginning. Welcome to Skillsmindset. For more information about the great service we provide, please visit our website on www.skillsmindset.com or give us a call on our UK number on 07957 676 193. Better still, send us an email on info@skillsmindset.com. Skills Mindset. Challenging limits, maximising opportunities.
Evening, New York. Good morning, Dubai. Good evening, Ghana. Good evening, Nigeria. This is the Skillsmindset Masterclass. We're having the March edition. And so you're welcome. We're honored to welcome our distinguished guest speaker, valued viewers, and all participants joining us tonight or today. This masterclass marks the beginning of an enriching learning journey, and focused on developing practical skills, cultivating transformative mindsets, and achieving meaningful impact. So thank you for being part of this month, March 2026 edition. We look forward to insightful discussion, engaging conversations, and of course, outcomes that translate into real-world growth. So you're welcome to this episode, and it's a very important topic we will be discussing. And then we have our guest in the house who will be doing justice, taking on this journey to, give us an insight into what is expected of us and of our businesses, particularly at this moment in the global state. So welcome, and as we want to begin. So whether you are joining us live or watching the replay, as some people will do afterwards, we're excited to have you with us for another transformative session. So please, as we will always do, let us know where you are joining or tuning in from, which including your country or your city. Just let us know, maybe New York, America, from the United States, or you're joining from Lagos, Nigeria, or Manchester, United Kingdom. And of course, if you're outside of these regions as well, you're welcome to let us know where you're joining from. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. Today marks a new beginning as we'll explore the Power Mind resource together, guided by experienced experts. This is a fantastic opportunity for skills development, business advancement, professional growth, and leadership. And so I'm happy to have you here. Today's discussion will be focusing, as you must have known, on corporate resilience, why it matters for small and medium-sized businesses. In looking at this, we will explore strategies designed to enhance the quality of products and services delivery, shifting value creation from a reactive to a productive or proactive approach. This session is tailored to ensure we can have the necessary guides and roadmap into ensuring that we stay in business and continue in service delivery. So it is tailored for businesses and growth leaders who want to make corporate resilience a business enabler and differentiator, creating a significant impact. We're joined tonight, by highly skilled professional in business strategies and human capital development, Dr. Emerie Agunwah. You are welcome, Dr. Emerie. It's been a while, and I'm happy to have you. We are happy to have you with us today. How have you been? You're muted, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gbenga, for having me on this platform. Last time was great. Thank you for this opportunity and for every platform that you've created to add value to human capital development. Thank you for all you do, and I'm grateful to be on your platform today.
Thank you so much for what you do as well. Because you follow what you do, we appreciate your work. Now, importantly, you have been helping and developing leaders and businesses across the globe. We see what you do, and we are happy to be partners with you to ensure that together we can make things better for not only for ourselves, but for the people around us that we serve. So for our listeners and our participants, I'd like to introduce Dr. Emerie Agunwah as a business strategist, a human capital development expert with extensive experience in strategic planning, creative intelligence, and management. He has successfully guided over 600 business leaders and organizations to achieve considerable success. Through his executive coaching platform and personalized learning programs, he has made a significant impact across various industries. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Dr. Emerie Agunwah, Skillsmindset Masterclass. The last time Dr. Emerie was on our program was a podcast, and then I think that was the last time. But it's been on the masterclass as well once. But again, we are happy to bring him back. So while we're settling, it's been a while. I will ask Dr. Emerie Agunwah to share more about himself, particularly what has changed since the last time we have seen him or he's been here, what is the posture of his work, current work, and of course, what are the other expertise he has acquired since the last time we met. While he's doing that, friends, please put in, your city where you are joining from, and then of course your name. I can see some people joining me from, from the United Kingdom, from London. Munisola Kazim, you're welcome. Well done to have you. Another one joining from UK, Info Streams. We don't get the name. That is, I don't even know whether, okay, yes, that's joining from YouTube. Munisola joining from Facebook. And we also have a participant joining from LinkedIn. So keep it coming. I'll be, acknowledging you as you put in your city, your name, and the country you are joining from. So while we're settling in, please keep that coming while Dr. Emerie, gives us some bits of himself, the areas we have not known or he has started to explain that since the last time we met. Just for this chat.
Thank you very much. Well, what has changed about me could be, obviously, a lot has changed about me. I believe that 365 days. And I reckon we've had this in 2024. So that's what we're getting to 2 years now, right? And a lot has changed. A lot has changed. I would obviously say a lot has changed significantly, especially when it comes to the business front and what we do and the the reason to which we engage and how we engage. We've also had quite exponential growth in different areas of our businesses, and because that's basically what strategy is all about. It's not just a fancy word to be said. It is execution. I always say that the difference between well said and well done is intentional execution. Everybody can say something, but not everybody can execute. And so a lot has happened. We've also put our hands to work with over the period. We've also had extensive expansions for our business and our businesses across other countries, and 6 countries presently and 3 continents where we operate in. And we're also expanding products and services across board. So for me, we've locked into that season where we cannot afford. We've come so far out, but there's a lot to be done. So as me as a person, and HNW and every other business that I run, we're in transition. And I'm also making plans to get a new CEO for the company to replace me, because I'm making plans to transit to something a lot more meaningful. And so I'm looking within the ranks and who's going to step up, and also looking at how we do that. But it's something that's already started getting into work. So a lot has happened, and a lot is happening. And I might not be in a position to divulge all the information here, but I would say that the person that showed up right here in the last meeting is completely different, different. Even for me, I think the only thing recognizable about me is the fact that my name hadn't changed and my face is still the same. Every other thing afterwards has changed, completely changed, which I'm grateful for, because that's basically what life is all about. Changes, and it's going to be progressive changes, and that's good. And maybe in the course of the conversation today, some of them will spill out. And if you spill out, grab them. Okay? But thank you.
Thank you so much. I like that. And it's well, I mean, I will have been surprised if nothing has changed. Because I know how vigorous and hardworking you are, and of course passionate about helping people, leaders, and businesses. And you do that conveniently, usually your expertise, and I can tell from what you do and follow your sometimes on LinkedIn and also on your other platform. So well done, and it's a pleasure to have you. So let's get down to this. In today's increasingly, unpredictable business environment, resilience is a defining factor for survival and growth, particularly for small and medium-sized enterprises. So the whole essence of this masterclass is to explore the true meaning of corporate resilience in critical importance for small, medium-sized enterprises, and how organizations can build the capacity to withstand disruptions, adapt to change, and ultimately emerge stronger. So I'm not going to be looking into trying to make any presentation, because I'm here to learn as well. But our guest speaker will offer further information and practical insight, which will expect to help businesses and leaders strengthen their organization against uncertainty. So without further delay, let us warmly welcome Dr. Emerie Agunwah for his presentation. So you got the floor, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I think I have a slide, but even if I have a slide, you could listen to me. How do I pull up the slide?
Yeah, it's done now.
But even if it's not pulled up, it's all right.
It's done. No, it will be done. Yeah,
okay. Easy.
It's up now.
So I'll just move into. So I'm getting this completely moved to the next phase of conversation. I don't want to get into corporate resilience, if you forgive me, Dr. Gbenga, right? Because there are 2 levels of resilience building when it comes to corporate engagement. One is corporate resilience for survival, and one is also corporate resilience for thriving. And there are 2 things, and that's why I want to delve on the positive, the one I consider positive, which is thriving, and which is anti-fragility. The whole concept of anti-fragility is beyond resilience. It is using the things, the uncertainties, the volatilities, and the complexities, and the ambiguous nature of the environment, the business ecosystem, to turn it around to your own advantage. So it ceases to be things you fight to normalize. It becomes fuel for the next phase, right? So that's just the concept. So we're still dealing with the concept of corporate resilience, but I'm engaging it through the eyes of anti-fragility, because it's been said that, which is simply put, it's been said that the same wind that quenches a fire is the same wind that spreads the fire. Right. So now we are going to find a way to use what has come against us as fuel. Now, we always put this that it's become so critical that uncertainty has become certain. So we have found a point where we are now very comfortable with uncertainty as a certain phenomenon. And that means that things are shifting quite drastically and quite at a very speedy rate. And when you look at the business ecosystem, I would say that models have changed, expectations have changed, demands have changed, corporate importance have changed, industries have changed, importance of businesses to clients have changed, dependency have changed. Corporate attraction has reduced, and corporate addiction has reduced. So ultimately, everybody is in a place where they're trying to figure out, both the clients, the business, the market, everybody is in a learning phase. So nobody, as it is right now, has figured out the steps, 5, 10 steps ahead. Everybody is in a learning program. But now this is the challenge, that the learning program that you've locked in your pathway through, if it's not guided, will ultimately put you in a very difficult space engaging the future. Now, I said it the last time we had this conversation, I was on this platform. Yes, we know the concept of artificial intelligence has been, but it has never been amplified the way it is. Meaning that as much as artificial intelligence has advanced the cost of work, it has also diminished the value that companies bring to the table, right? But one thing is critical, is that both systems are losing money and not gaining money. I want somebody to underline this, because the whole concept of business growth is what I call the battle for the wallet. Now, when we keep saying the battle for the wallet, it means that for every services you need or you offer, someone is going to pay for it, and they're going to pay for it from the money they have. Now, you need to make a case. You need to ask, who is making a case for the wallet? What other businesses are making cases for the wallet in such a way that you do not stand a chance? So, for instance, I put it this way. We've got people who are paying multiple subscriptions to artificial intelligence platforms, to Zoom platforms, to multiple platforms. But the question is, as much as they are paying $35, $40, $50 in all these platforms, who used to have access to that money that doesn't have access to it anymore? Okay, I use something as a case in point. I could use companies like video rental companies and everything. Now, they used to make a lot of money doing video rentals, and this is where corporate resilience comes in. And now you move it to anti-fragility, because this is happening in every industry. Now, they used to have what they call, they used to rent movies, and by units of rentals, they could stipulate or maybe project their income. But by having streaming services, their industry is getting completely wiped out. Now, somebody else is making the money, and someone has lost money. Remember, it's the battle for the wallet. So anytime you wake up and you do business, you need to ask, if someone needs to make a critical case about paying, what would they rather pay for? Would they pay for their mortgage first? Obviously, if you live in the Western world, or you live in any proper economy, or economy that is fully taxed, once you make income, the tax office takes their money first. So that is the first battle for the wallet. Now, when we deal with anti-fragility, we are saying, so what is it that's putting pressure on economies, on businesses, and on your business trajectory in such a way that you are fighting battles both internally and externally? Okay, we've seen battles coming from taxes, we've seen battles come from technology, we've seen battles come from consumer behavior, we've seen battles come from loss of market. What it means is that if you used to be 35, 20 years ago, and you used to offer services for people in that age bracket between 35 and 45, 20 years after, if you're still looking around that place, people who are 35 and 45 don't want to do business with a 55-year-old, because you do not connect. So that is a challenge that comes that comes because you didn't transit with time. So what happens is that your advantage becomes your disadvantage, so that you can only talk about what you did in the past without looking on what you are doing presently and what you are doing in the future. So lots of companies that are not struggling because that's the pressure. Because of just the pressure, they're struggling because they didn't build anti-fragility systems and networks to help them withstand and transit as it's going. So what it means is that as you're dealing with that, you're dealing with corporate shifts, you're dealing with expectations. Companies have not been able to grapple the fact that as much as they saw we need to introduce AI to our systems to make it faster, to make it more swifter, they've forgotten the fact that the same AI tools are not exclusive. Those AI tools are not exclusive to them. They are also available to clients. So now a client is asking, what exactly are you going to give me when AI could do that? Remember, 3 years ago, everybody would always say content is king. I don't know if somebody remembers that. Content is king. I always say right now, content is not even king. Content is not in the kingdom. Okay? Content has been banished from the kingdom because any content you see, you can recreate right now. You see, all this conversation we are having right now, we could put it on some kind of AI, say simulates things, and we have completely different clothes, completely different outlooks, illustrations will pop up. It's all changing. So content is not even in the kingdom anymore. People don't value content no more. But now this is what they value. Now, I always say this, in the game of AI, they will have to understand that anytime you hear about artificial intelligence, you should be smart enough to know that there is no artificial without original. There is no artificial without original. And I always say the world we live in has so put us under pressure and put us in such a way that everybody talks about artificial as if it's the main thing, but nobody talks about original. Original has always been more expensive than artificial. Original has always been better off than synthetic. But right now, we have not delved into the concept of originality. Now, this is the future. Because what this thing have done is that it has standardized. So this is what I'm trying to get at before I get into the mainstream of my conversation, is that once you understand the battle you're facing, you're facing a battle that you don't own the past no more. You're facing a battle that you don't own the present no more. You're facing a battle that you don't even have a clue of what the future is. Now, this is on a linear form when it comes to your business. If you look at the complexities of the matter, you don't have complete hold of the political terrain. People who made their strategies last year didn't factor in the fact that there's going to be war in the Middle East this year. Now, with the war in the Middle East, every strategy you made in December has become obsolete. It's gone because you didn't factor in the key pillars of external influences, right? We didn't factor in the fact that a lot of people have lost time. Businesses that are supposed to be your clients that we are thriving as of January are now surviving, so they might not engage you. So everything is all interconnected, and this is what they call artificial pressure that comes to businesses. There's one that comes naturally that happens every now and then, which businesses are built resilience for and trying to thrive on. But how do you build for something you don't know, except you now make what you don't know the known? So what it means, how do you now turn certainty? How do you now turn uncertainty to certainty? Not how do you overcome uncertainty? Does that make sense? How do you factor in uncertainty as a certain factor? How do you make sure that you make allowances for uncertainty and understand the framework to which uncertainty would happen? Because there are things you always talk about. Human beings make projections. Even those of us, when we do projections and we're trying to look at companies for the future, we'll say what I call the Samson pillars in our company. What are the Samson pillars of this company? What are the 2, 3, 4 pillars? If you eliminate from this business or from this organization, it becomes normal, like every other thing. Now, some of them are built around what I call the concept of corporate resilience, which is the first thing I want to introduce if I get to my slide, is some of them are built around, most businesses are built around one man. Now, the founder of the company is trapped in what I call the founder trap because he's both the founder and the CEO, and there is no way he will make a good judgment because the founder is always emotional and the CEO is very pragmatic. but emotion and pragmatism do not live in the same room, never. So that when a founder makes a decision, a CEO most times doesn't make that decision. Case in point, a CEO looks at value proposition, team building, outcome, insight for make a decision. A founder is making decisions based on when we were nothing 20 years ago. This person stuck with us. You see that guy they call Steven, he was with us when we had nothing. There was a time he did 1 year with us without salary. Now the company wants to scale, but the founder is still under obligation to have Steven in his team. Not because Steven represents the future, but Steven has played an integral part in his past that he can't let go of the Steven, so he locks in into his past. Now that's become another pressure that companies face because now they can't scale because they are built around the ideology of one man. And that is why most companies have a stronger bedroom than boardroom. Most companies have influences are decided in the bedroom than in the boardroom, meaning that who shares the bed with the major decision maker has a major influence on the outcome of projects. Now, this is one of the things that ruin businesses in dealing with growth, because when that could help them scale from point 1 to point 10, but most of the time when the pressures, corporate pressures, industry pressures, market pressure comes, it hits the person, but one person does not have the capacity to withstand a corporate pressure. So now the system collapses. Maybe it becomes so intense that he loses his marriage. It becomes so intense that he loses his sanity. It becomes so intense that he becomes erratic. It becomes so intense that he becomes a bottleneck. It becomes so intense that he can't even hire smarter people in his team. And now remember that if you've been around in business for 10 years, and this is for everybody who's done business for 10 years and above, one of the most difficult things to do if you work primarily, if you are the major brain behind your company, is adapting to new technology. It's very difficult because as you're trying to lay a hold and master the one you have, suddenly another one comes. And this is just the beginning. And if you slack on that one, the next one you can meet up. I always say that imagine a company that didn't set up an email when email was a thing. Now, emails are not only used to receive emails, they become user IDs. Every major platform will ask you for your email as a user ID. So it's no longer a mail receiving platform, it's now an identity receiving platform. So any company that couldn't switch in that email couldn't have access to log into any of these new devices. Right? Now, as you're moving into new devices, you start realizing that they start putting what they call biometrics, fingerprints, facial recognition. Now, that's also advancing the course. Now, imagine how many layers of growth that happens where now we're dealing with voice recognition, prompt, user agentic AI. How do you meet up? But these are external pressures that hit a company. Now, do you build resilience or do you find a way to advance growth through it? Now, I want to get to the next slide. So this is my introduction. It always takes time. And my introduction always takes time. Everybody knows that. So, but this is where I want to look at on this slide. So when you're trying to build for corporate resilience or corporate anti-fragility, you ask yourself, what is the business design and what is the industry design? Because I've seen businesses have a bulletproof, watertight strategy, but the industry they are in do not have watertight strategy. So the industry collapses and their business collapses, but they did nothing wrong. Remember that the battle first is a battle for the wallet. Now, if a job must be done, is how to make sure that an industry has access to the wallet. If the industry does not command the money, it's difficult for your business in the industry to have access to the money. If your industry does not command the talent or command investors or command control over new markets, it is very difficult for your business to command that influence. Does that make sense? Now, the whole concept of this is as simple as you can get, that industries keep moving. So the first point of corporate resilience is to protect your industry. I use something as a case in point. So now I was telling one of my clients, I'm going to mention some names because They are popular brands. Anyways, we still know them. So there's a company called Coca-Cola. Everybody knows that. And if you ask somebody, an average person, I said, what is the biggest threat to Coca-Cola, the biggest competition? They're going to say Pepsi, this other one. Okay, they're mentioning that. But I say, if you look at it two ways, the first thing is what takes the money from Pepsi, from Coca-Cola. If people don't buy Coca-Cola, what do they buy instead? So now when you start hearing people say things like, I don't want to drink soda, I want to start drinking water. Now, the competition for Coca-Cola is no longer Pepsi. It is the guy that sells water, because the money is leaving the whole soda industry to another complete unregulated industry. They do not know what happens there. Okay? Now, when you look at what is it that takes money from people, where is it that the money of this business goes to? Where is it that the talent that would have worked in these industries, where are they right now? Where are they right now? Does your industry command the attraction? Because if they are not coming to your industry, they won't come to you. Does that make sense? So I was discussing with some people in the logistics industry, and they said, we really have a problem in the logistics industry. The careers are not compounding towards that direction. People don't want to get into logistics because it's too demanding, physically demanding. There's no way you can do logistics working from home. Okay? You can't work in a warehouse working from home. You can't drive a forklift working from home. You can't work in the container working from home. But the environment is making people want to work from home, a lot more technology based, a lot more behind the desk engagement. And people are saying, how do we advance interest, both of talent and investors, to our space? But people also became smart to say, we would force it to happen because logistics is the backbone for e-commerce. We have agreed that you don't want to go to the store to buy something. You want somebody to bring it at home. So we're going to factor a huge sum of that e-commerce to delivery and make it lucrative for the people who want to do that. So you see what happened in Western world? So people started using companies like DoorDash, Amazon Delivery as side gigs, because they now had a lot more deeper pockets to pay people who don't really want to work in logistics as a career, but they're willing to do the work as side gigs. But ultimately, the job is now being done, but who is winning? Because now there's no commitment for, remember, I want you to understand something. These are all strategic frameworks. Once you sign up as a side gig for an industry that you think you are escaping, you lose out on all the benefits. Number one benefit, there is no security like pension for you. There's no support. There's no insurance. You have nothing. There's no commitment. You only work when you have opportunity. So as much as it serves a purpose, they have now used that challenge, not just to stay in business, but to increase profitability. That is called anti-fragility. Anti-fragility is when you look at that challenge that has come around to ruin you, you turn it around to your own advantage, so that you can look back and say, I wish this can happen again, because our biggest gains, our biggest threat has become our biggest gains. Is what happened to a lot of companies during COVID. So during COVID came to shut people in, but they retweaked their business model, not just to survive, but profiting soared completely. Now they are trying to say with artificial intelligence, it is ruining the client base, it's ruining multiple things. Some are saying, how do we recraft this thing as a threat to convert it to strength as winning? But first of all, you can't do this in isolation for your business if your industry does not support that. Because once you try to do it for your business alone, you are now fighting an industry. That is why I advocate for every business person. Do not just be a business leader, be an industry leader, an industry culture shaper. Please, I beg you. So every now and then, be in part of the councils and associations that reshape the conversation of the industry. Because once that happens, it changes. I give you case in point. I give you case in point. Someone wants to start up a school. I said the first online school. Now, when you start up the first online university, you are fighting both your industry and for looking for the market. So you're obviously going to get burnt out. But when the educational industry decides that we want to adopt online learning as a way to move this industry forward, then it becomes a wind under your sail. So when you say it is now a conversation to be understood. So I put it this way. The whole conversation of AI is more than 20 years old. There's a bank in Nigeria that adopted AI as much as 15 years ago. They even called it Leo. They even said you could chat up and ask questions because those days AI was just an answering machine. But people didn't look into that. A lot of companies saw the future of AI, including the Apple devices, with Siri was supposed to be the first leg into AI. But because they were championing this space, but it was difficult both to maintain present market and own the future market. But right now, everybody's saying AI, 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 AI. And not because you're talking about AI, it sounds as if it's easy to get into the flow. So once you tell somebody right now, I'm trying to build, this is AI powered, they don't ask lots of questions. And you must understand this, that when questions are asked, let me rephrase it. I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. The world is not in need. The world is not in deficit of solutions. We're not looking for more solutions in this world. The world is in huge deficit of questions for the answers available. We're not looking for answers. Answers are there. We don't have enough questions to trigger the answers. Something you need to understand is that if your conversation, I'll rephrase it again for purposes of basic understanding, a business must now qualify its clients. It's never been done before. It's never been done before. People that have done it in fragments. You can't just have any person as your client anymore because your client actually gets you better. Because the questions and the demands the clients ask of you would bring out the solution that you have that you didn't know you have. So what happens is that for you to get better, you must choose the client that will trigger the outcome that you're looking for. Okay? So that the outcome you're looking for is completely dependent on the kind of interest that's been placed on it. Every company that's advanced during this anti-fragility period advanced because there was a demand, a question that was asked, important demand that was asked as question that they have to dig deeper to find answers for that they already do have because the answers are not new. They just have to excavate it. Now, what happens in corporate resilience and anti-fragility is that every day the pressure comes of you. I give you case in point, there's energy crisis happening. A client of mine told me a few days ago, I said, we can't move around because of energy crisis. I don't know what to do. I said, you said the wrong thing. You could have said, how do we use energy crisis to our advantage? That should be the thought. Because that is the question that energy crisis is asking your business. But because you didn't get the question, you're answering the wrong thing. So anytime you interrogate external pressures or industry pressures or business pressures, you must understand that it's a threat to the industry, a threat to the business. And if the business is doing well and the industry is not doing well, then the business will fail ultimately. Okay? I was discussing also with another industry in the Western world that's been under threat, which is the sartorial dressing for men, where men dress up with tie and three-piece suit and all this stuff. In the Western world, it's not a thing anymore. People go to work with t-shirts and, just dress casual. And I said, do you know that this casual conversation, dressing, is ruining your industry? Do you know that this is ruining your industry? Because you think you're still selling to people right now. The question you need to ask yourself is, who would be your customers? Who would be patronizing this industry in the next 10 years? And where are they right now? Meaning that if your business serves people who are 25 to 35 as your primary age demography, and you have some clients right now, and your industry is not doing anything to capture the next demography, which is between 15 years and 25 years, and the next 20 years, which is between 5 and 15, then what it means is that your industry is walking to a finish line. So the question you're going to ask yourself is, which space that I operate in has my industry started making claims for the next 10 years? We have seen it in everything. We've seen it in everything, both from business to religion to fashion to transportation, everything. Go to the last 10 years demography of your age bracket, client age demography, and ask them, do they want to be in this kind of business tomorrow? Go to the unis and ask them, where would you want to work? Would you want to work in a consulting firm? Nah. Would you want to work in this? Nah. Would you want to work in this? No. You can start seeing the industries that are losing out in the future. Do you want to be this? Nah. So your first job as a business person for corporate resilience is to make sure that your industry remains attractive to the future. If not, no matter what you build, I put it this way. Ask an average 15-year-old, what is your dream? Do you want to work in a supermarket? He'll tell you no. So who is going to work in the supermarket in the future? You don't know. So if nobody wants to work there and you can't create it, what are you going to do? You start right now to invest in technology that can replace the humans of the future. Because by the time the future comes, if you don't have people who work for you and the technology, what you do is that you definitely have the keys and the chain to lock your door and go out of business. That's what you would do. So what it means that once you keep interrogating, make sure that your business is aligned, industry is aligned to your business, and your business is aligned to your industry, because without both, you won't advance. Does that make sense to anybody? Now, for us to look at corporate resilience, we must see business not as a game, but as war. Because whenever a game means that I try today, if I don't win today, I show up tomorrow. I could probably get a yellow card, I could get a red card, I could do fair play, there's a draw. That's not how business is built. If you've got the best staff, part of corporate resilience and anti-fragility is the fact that if you've got the best staff that work for you, you must protect them and keep them within your business, because your competition is going for them. It's war. It is war. You must now use your best staff as an asset. And that's one of the things I've done. I say some things will come out and things we've done differently. I looked at my best staff. I stopped putting them just on salary. I gave them what they call employee stock option plan, ESOP, employee stock option plan. Gave them equity in the business. So it's not just my business. They are part of the business. And automatically, I moved them from liability column of the business to asset column, because they are now part of the business asset. They can't leave the business anymore, because they own a part of the business vested over 10 years. So for the period of 10 years, they are not company assets. I use them for negotiations because I know they're there. It's war. So I'm protecting my own. I'm also looking out for people who don't protect their own and making them offers. Corporate seduction is real. People get in there to go ask for your best staff, give them what you are not offering, and pull them in, because once you pull them in, the system collapses. Business is war, not a game. Strategy is a war term. So whenever you walk into the business, you ask yourself, if I want to be number one in the industry and there's a threat coming in, all I'm saying is that once I decide to be number one, I'm telling the present number one, I want to unseat you. There's no middle ground. Now, when there's a global shaking, there's cost of living crisis is high, energy crisis is high, people are doing this, this one is happening. Don't look at it like a game when you're just observing what is going on social media and having an opinion. You shouldn't have an opinion. You should have a strategy, not an opinion. You should have a direction. You should start building your allies' forces. I asked a client of mine, I said, who is your NATO? Where is your corporate NATO? The organization that your military allies that you work with? Who is it that when you take down and you want to take down an industry, who do you consult? Who do you go to this battle with? I would say if I want to pick up this, I've got this accounting firm as part of my NATO. I've got this branding firm as part of my NATO. I've got this valuation firm as part of my NATO. I've got this capital risk company. So that when there's an attack, I could say, man, something's happening. New oil fields are coming up. But we already built an ally. This is war. And we don't have to be friends. We have to have a common cause. Okay? And because of this, I always say I don't know if I could get into this. I don't want to unsettle the waters. And I don't want to unsettle the waters. But the truth is that the leadership traits for a game is different from leadership traits for war. So I've seen multiple people who are leadership coaches, but they are leadership coaches for war, for game. So they teach you what they call empathy. They teach you what they call I shouldn't say this. Let me leave this for another day. But you master these leadership skills for game, and you take that into a war, you're going to lose. There's nothing called fair play. So what happens in a game is that when you beat an opposition and he's about to die, or maybe let me use this illustration. It's all right. Okay? Since you must have watched this thing in a game before. Somebody's running a race, and another person that's in the race falls down, and he leaves his race and goes to pull him up, and two of them finish the race, and the whole world started cheering. What's sportsmanship? That's nonsense. It's not how you win the game. Okay? Because the people in the war know that the trip was not natural. I set up something to make sure that you trip. So I don't want to support you. So your job is I'm trying to create this mindset because this is the game. So what I always say is, when somebody comes into my office and you're sabotaging what I'm doing, I don't treat you like a game. I don't give you warning. I don't give you warning. I tell you what you're doing. I say, I don't know who sent you. I don't know who you're working for. But when I find out, both you and the person will not go unpunished. Oh, but it's against corporate laws. I said, because they think this is game. This is war. I would mention names. I hope I won't get into trouble. I will mention names. But the last thing an average person touches before they sleep and the first thing they touch when they wake up is a mobile device. Why is that? Somebody is dragging their attention and they're very intentional about it. And guess what? They are not even competing against themselves. I could mention the names of the companies. We all use them. Facebook is not in competition with Twitter, X. Both of them have accounts on both pages. Elon Musk has a Facebook page. Mark Zuckerberg has a Twitter page. Do they sound like they're in competition to you? They are not. It is you that thinks, because now they know who the enemy is, so they formed an allied force. Everything they're going to do to make sure we would rather be together to make sure the money comes through this phone. If we can have you on this phone, we all making money. And you could check this on the internet just in case. Google paid Safari, Apple, $20 billion. Google paid Safari $20 billion to be the default search engine in Safari. If it's you and I, you think it's game. Manchester United versus Arsenal. No. It is the EPL versus the rest of the world. That's how it is. I don't think you understand what I'm saying. You are busy choosing sides. I support Chelsea, I support Manchester United. No, that's not how EPL sees it. EPL doesn't care if you're Manchester United or Chelsea. Their job is, how do we make sure that EPL becomes addictive to the rest of the world? How do we maintain control in the rest of the world? Not how do your club maintain control. You are fighting the wrong battle. They are fighting the main battle. So that's why when you watch things like Champions League, you hear things like, all the EPL clubs couldn't make it to the quarterfinals. You are busy thinking it's about your club. They are worried that the EPL is not commanding enough pressure, enough interest. Because once the interest loses, all the clubs are gone. Does that make sense? I'm using things that people can understand. That's why people say, oh, Messi is better than Ronaldo. This is better than this. I say, you people are not getting it. Messi had to move to the United States to advance the conversation of football in the United States. Ronaldo has to move to Saudi Arabia to advance the cost of football there. And the truth is that they are paid heavily because they are not. It's not for them to score goals. It's for them to champion an industry. Does that make sense? So next time you see paychecks, it will show you whether this is a game or a war. Because you see people rolling out, writing checks. And you say, it cannot just be for this game. What is this life about? Why is this company fighting this? Why are they doing everything, going for legal disputes? For what? Nobody goes for legal disputes for a game. It's just a game. We shake hands and try again. No, this is war. It's industry. It's mind share. Okay? Back again to this slide. Between market share and mind share, which one do you go for? Because market share makes you think 1 + 1 is equals to 2. In mind share, 1 + 1 is not equals 2. 1 + 1 could be 11. Because 1 is not always 2. Because the question is, do you come top of mind? Do you come top of mind? I can use many people for illustrations. There are 8 billion people in the world. Why am I mentioning the names of few people? Why do I mention the names of few people? The question is, why is it that your business doesn't come in mind to people? Have you been there in business where they say things like, oh, it skipped my mind. I could have just told you yesterday. If it got into my mind, oh, it didn't cross my mind that you do this. It shouldn't be a thing because you are not top of mind. You don't have mind share. See, let me tell you something. And I'm also going to mention names. The president of the free world, Donald J. Trump, is not just a president by rating. Everybody, he makes it to everybody's mouth every day. He has mind share. He has mind share, not market share. So if you want to rate people like him on polls, you don't find them in polls. You find them on mind. The same way businesses is a mind share. So if your business is going to grow, corporate resilience and anti-fragility, you have to move from market share to mind share. How much more time do I have? I can't hear you, but anyways,
you're doing well, sir. You've got about 10-15 minutes.
Okay, so I want to start rounding up. So if you don't have the mind share thought, you cannot have anti-fragility because you are now operating at a level higher than the matrix for measurement. There's a company, everybody knows that, Arthur Guinness, the Guinness company, the Guinness drink, the Ireland company, when he wanted to get a lease for his land, he wanted to buy the land, and they told him in Ireland, you can't buy this land. This land is so big and important, we don't want to sell it. We can at best give it to you at a lease. £45 every year. So when he made a move for it, he made a move for 9,000 years lease. When a company wants to take a lease, you can check out this on the internet. Guinness made a 9,000 years lease. 9,000 years lease for their property. If they have acquired it, it could have been 100 years freehold. Right? Now, what you're trying to figure out is that he did 9,000 years lease. He took time to build mindshare. Now, he's not just building mindshare through the drinks, he's also establishing presence through the Guinness World Records and multiple other places to establish mindshare. Things they don't have business with, but to become top of mind. Does that make sense to some people? Because when you understand this, the game starts shifting. So instead of saying, how do I compete? You say, who do I collaborate with to lock into people's mind? Does that make sense? I hope this makes sense to some people, right? Because when you deal with corporate resilience and corporate anti-fragility, the whole concept is the fact that this has to be a war thought. This has to go beyond game. This has to go beyond market share. This has to go beyond your business to industry design to mind share and everything. Okay, now we move to the other one, growth and scale. Because people think that growth and scale are the same thing. No, they are not. So companies focus on growth, linear. Other companies focus on scale. Growth must come first, but you cannot just keep growing at that pace. Once you grow, you scale. For the people who are religious and Christian by background, you hear things like, be fruitful and multiply. You don't be fruitful and become fruitful again. That's what people want to do. You become fruitful, you replicate the model, and you become fruitful again. No, once you become fruitful, your next job is scale. Fruitful, scale. Fruitful, scale. That's how you write about anti-fragility. That's how cars are built. If I want to build a car and this is a Rolls Royce or probably a Toyota, and I said I want to build this car, we are using all our growth options to design the model of this car. Design aerodynamics, design comfort, design shock absorber, design electrical system, air conditioning system, music system. We design all the systems here. It is growth. But once this car is built, the next thing is you convert this thing from a car to a model. Once you convert this from a car to a model, you can now take this to the factory and mass produce this. So the car that was tested by wind and by aerodynamics and by fire and by difficult terrain is not the one that you drive, but they have taken the model and they scaled it. And once they scale it, what they do, they grow another one, another model, scale, another model, scale, another model, scale. There are a lot of models that have grown that didn't scale. If you go to any automobile shop, you see lots of models and you know this one was not produced. We just did 4 models and we said, no, it's not sustainable. Nah, it's not sustainable. So, but what companies use are once they grow, they think because they produce something means that they've scaled. So what happens is that we couldn't be having this conversation 10 years ago if it wasn't for COVID. Because what people did with anti-fragility is that companies have been growing, but once COVID came, the pressure from external forced people to scale. So right now, I can stay in Australia, and this is Friday morning, and people can stay in Nigeria and any place they want to be, but we are using technology for scale, not for growth. Technology primarily is for scale and not for growth. Can I finish so I'm going to put a pause. This slide is a little bit too much, but I want to stop and see if I have any feedback or questions. And I hope I haven't bored a lot of people with my thoughts this morning. But if I had bored you, please forgive me. I didn't mean to. And
no, you're doing well. You're doing well. I mean, keep your slide there because you may still have time to, because at the time I gave you about 15 minutes. It was just about 7 minutes ago. So yeah, but just want to encourage people to start writing in their questions while our guest speakers will still continue. But please, very interesting. I'm learning and I'm seeing it from different perspectives, or perhaps just looking at the same thing, differently, if you like. So yeah, it's been thought-provoking presentation and insight so far, and I think I want to hear more. Don't know about you, but please send in your questions. Keep it coming, and then I'll be able to share that with the guest speaker who will then speak to the questions. And if you have any contribution, please just put it in the chat box we will be able to read that out to also help knowledge here. So yeah, we have a lot of engagement, Dr. Agunwah. We have a lot of engagement from YouTube, from Facebook and LinkedIn, particularly YouTube. They engage in. So yeah, I think you are gonna get some questions to attend to. But let's see. I want us to get over this situation you are presenting, and then of course we'll see how that will help us to grow more. So go ahead, sir.
Okay. So do I wait for questions? Do I fire down?
No, you can go on. They will be preparing to write their questions now.
So we looked at the concept of customer versus consumer. How are you looking at your concept, what you're designing? Because consumers are all good, but it's just to know none is better than the other, depending. But in anti-fragility, you know where to focus on and where to step down on. Okay, because consumers are different from customers. We all know that. For instance, I got a little man at home and he probably likes cars, right? And I am the customer, he's the consumer. So when I go to the supermarket to buy him his toy cars, I will never drive them. So I'm not the consumer. You can't get feedback from me. You can't get customer feedback from me because I could be customer, but I'm not the one consuming it. But all you need to do is to design your system to appeal to the customer and to appeal to the consumer. Because it has to appeal to my wallet, but appeal to his mind. So that is the thing about anti-fragility. So even when you see businesses trying to thrive, they're trying to collapse. Oh yeah, you can do a Harvard program online, but you like Harvard. It appeals to your mind. But now your mind is the consumer, but your pocket in this case is the customer. It appeals to your mind. I like to have Harvard behind my name, but I can't pay $650,000 for Harvard. Then they came up with an online program. Just pay this. It's just going to cost you this, $800, and da. I'm like, what is happening? So you see, everybody's remodeling their system, okay, to know who the customer is and who the consumer is. Even every business is now prioritizing as it's happening because anti-fragility will force you to think. Will force you to think. Will force you to, there's a company, a real estate company in the United States, they couldn't make lots of deals. They couldn't sell. They tried to sell, they couldn't sell. Because the market is still, but they had to figure out customers and consumers. Can we remodel this thing? Can we do a lot more consumer-centric, but without the house? So now they got a listing and they started showing houses. There are multiple shows on Netflix like that. You hear things like selling Florida, selling Sunset. They are not selling real houses now. What they are doing is that they are now documenting, filming the process of selling houses, so that their customer is no longer who buys houses. Their customer is Netflix. Does that make sense? So Netflix pays them for the content. And they keep showing you stuff. I don't know if that makes sense to some people, but this is an interesting thing. Because the truth is that they are now making money, but not from the customer, but now from a streaming device that needs what they're selling as content. That is the whole concept of content creation. Because right now, people are now offering stuff to the people, not hoping to get paid from the people, but hoping to get paid from YouTube. So that they could draw the line that the consumer of the content on YouTube, the videos that they make, is not the one that could pay for it. But if I make good content, my customer becomes YouTube. Because who pays for it is the customer, is the client. Does that make sense? So people make content, making content that the consumers will consume, but that YouTube will pay for, is the customer and consumer dichotomy. That a lot of companies have moved towards that phase. Understanding who pays and understanding who uses. That is why when you use WhatsApp has solved this problem because WhatsApp is free to consumers. But someone else pays for you being the product on WhatsApp. I don't want to put people without this, but this has an interesting thing in growth, right? Oh, I can't finish this slide. Really. Really, really. But I want to deal on this and I round up.
All right.
Horizontal growth versus vertical growth. Whenever you deal on horizontal growth, you would meet obstacles that would hit you on the face. But when you deal on vertical growth, your company grows differently. And any company that grows vertically would always overcome a company that grows vertically. So vertical growth is, how do I increase sales? How do I increase lead? How do I have more clients? How do we sell more? Another company say, how do we have more valuation? How do we get listed in OTC, get listed in NSC, get listed in the stock market? So both of you are chasing two different things. So you are chasing more clients, they are chasing board directors. You are chasing more leads, they are chasing reputational value. You are chasing more leads, they are chasing standardization for NSC. You are chasing clients, they are chasing investors. Then as you are chasing forward, they are chasing upward. In 5 years, you make 5 million, you make 25 million, you make 100 million, going vertical. In 5 years, they are now a $10 billion company. Now they get the money, they come buy you over. Does that make sense? So now, not to say if you can grow vertically, if you have the way to grow, but if you can grow horizontally, please grow horizontally in a way that you can appeal to a vertical growth company to acquire you. Okay? But that is the game. So people are growing upward. The knowledge base for growing vertical is different from the knowledge base for growing horizontal. It's just like when you want to engage for personal development, looking at human capital development, you have 2 9 frames, 9 to 5 and 5 to 9. Okay? Once what you do between 9 to 5 gives you horizontal growth, gives you forward growth. You go to work in the morning, you come back, you just care, oh, he's very good at what he does. But what you do between 5 to 9, 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. determines whether you grow up. So a lot of people go burn out in horizontal growth. They say, I've been in this job for 10 years, 20 years, my life doesn't amount to anything. It will never amount to anything. It's horizontal growth. But when what you do between 5 to 9 will determine whether you would overcome your horizontal growth. Your upward move is always better than your forward move. Because as you go up, you see further. But you can keep going further without seeing upward. So it's just like when you find yourself in a helicopter, you see what people who have been trekking haven't seen. Because you went up. So, but if people invest in their 5 to 9, which is their vertical time, which is their upward time, that is for individual. I just wanted to touch today because not everybody listening would be a business person. But what you do between your 5 to 9 will largely determine how you engage your horizontal engagement. Meaning that if you invest heavily on your 5 to 9, when you speak in the office the next day, they say something is different about this dude. Your point of views are different. But if you think you just come back from work, or you bump in your PS5, oh God, I had a long day, now you're PS5, you are ruining your vertical period. You are ruining it. Some people also do 2 horizontal jobs. I don't want to laugh. Some people do another 5 to 9, a horizontal job, and they use their vertical time to do another horizontal job. So they have 2 parallel horizontal jobs. That's why they burn out. They tell they have double shift. I work this 5 to 9, 9 to 5 in the morning, I come out and do another one. So they are ruining their options. Does that make sense? There's a lot you learn in your 5 to 9 that would advance your growth of your 9 to 5. There's a lot you advance as a business and understand growth. The board structure, a lot of businesses that I know, 5 years, 10 years in business, they have never had a board of directors. They never have board of directors. No need. They have never seen the need. And every day they are struggling. And they ask me, how do you food scale? I said, every month I talk to my board of directors. All of them are bigger than I am. They are key people in key positions. And every month I present to them, this is where we are, the CEO of the company. We want to do this, for so and so government. We are looking for access there. Because they're on the board. Some of them will say, okay, we have access. They give you the access. They're on the board. They give it to you. Some of the places you walk into, your reputation cannot open the doors. But you mentioned that so and so person, this person is on my board. Doors fling open. Some people, you might not be able to attract investors until you have a solid board. Corporate governance means that you are accountable to someone. When somebody puts an investment of $20 million in your business, they want to be sure that you report to someone bigger than you. They don't want to give it to you because you can decide to go to Hawaii and go to Ibiza and go flex the money. But if you've got a board that'll call you to order, the board can fire you, then they can give you the money. It's the concept of investment through ESG. That is it. Am I boring people today? I didn't plan to make this too complicated. But
no,
I
just
make things complicated.
It's not. But people are enjoying it. They are actually making comments, and you get to see them shortly. Yeah.
Okay.
So, maybe just take your breath. Take your breath a minute. Let me, Dr. Agunwah, thank you so much. Just really get a cup of water while I acknowledge some people joining us and also contributing, and they are going to be sharing their thoughts with you, and then so that you can have some insight or reference to their comments. Yes, we have people joining, majority from YouTube tonight. Tonight has been fantastic with YouTube people or participants. They've been on fire, if you like. Dari Shinaya is on YouTube. Yes, my friend, Say True Talk. Yes, Agbonlaki Bawale, business is not a game, on YouTube as well. Remy Faith on YouTube. Yes, acknowledging what you said. Dari also said growth versus scale, Yes, Professor Abosede is here. You may have to, I'm not sure if you have remember Professor Abosede. He was also in attendance at your presentation the last time. That was 2 years ago. He actually, apologizing for joining it. You don't need to do that, sir. That's it. That's kind of you. Thank you so much. We appreciate your continuous and supportive participation every time. He said diversification. And Remy also said that's an excellent way to put it, sir. And Professor Abosede also said, how is this different from range? How is this different from range and line? Okay, and then great stuff, sir. People commenting, and then you have not bothered us at all. To let you know that that's what people are saying. They say you have not bothered them at all. They're enjoying your lecture. Professor they also said of scales within and between, and then say sorry, I joined quite late. So growth versus scale, which is harder to sustain. That's from Dari. And then Professor Abosede also said that customer at the point of exchange, which is marketing, and consumer at the point of level of satisfaction. So the analysis, the projection is producer to seller, seller to customer, customer to consumer. Good system analysis, appreciating your points there. So Professor Abosede said that is vertical not a combination of backward and forward growth, and not at all, saying that very interesting presentation, keep going. And Siwa Siri, that's my brother as well. I said not too boring at all, so keep going. So I just wanted to know that people are, because you can't hear them, but they are participating, they are typing, and I'm monitoring that from all the platforms that we are live on. And then, of course, I can see their contributions and their level of engagement. So I think we can still do some more. So, wow, that has been so insightful. Thank you very much. That is from Remy Faith as well. So I don't know how much of feedback you would like, Dr. Emerie.
No, this is good. I think with this, I'm satisfied. I can even draw the curtain right now so that people have had value. If more than one person got value from it, is a complete good result of my time. I believe so. But do I have questions from people?
Yes, we do have questions, and let's go back now to mention some of them. But let's just see what. Please keep your question coming, other than comments. Yes, this one. Prof said that, how is this different from range and line? I'm not sure you know that at what point you were making that this question will have come up. But again, maybe that will trigger some I'll prompt you
Yes,
into understanding
I
what
need
that.
to know what he has in mind.
Okay.
Yes.
You will make a note. You will make it clarification shortly. I'm sure of that. And then of course this is another question from Dari Shunaya. Say growth versus scale, which is harder to sustain.
Both are very difficult. Okay, because they are in different seasons of life. But what happens is that somebody who hasn't grown start enjoying the conversation of scale, but you can't scale anything that you haven't grown. So some people rush into scaling conversation when they haven't grown. And some people grow and they get addicted to the whole conversation of growing that they can't scale. And that's where you start hearing things like, I did this, I did that, I wake up every morning, I do this, I work this. I have a lot of business people successful, in quotes. But they all talk about how they've grown, but not how the system has scaled. So I tell you, I can't remember the last time for the past 20 years I wake up by 3 a.m. I said I can understand waking up by 3 a.m. because you have a new business. But I do not understand waking up at 3 a.m. when your business is 20 years old. It's just like having a child. Just like having a child. I can understand if you have a new baby and it keeps you up at night. I can understand you have a new baby and you wake up and clean the diapers, wake up and do this. But I do not understand you doing the same thing 20 years after. You are stuck. Why are you waking up your child? Why are you doing that? It's not a badge of honor. You are stuck. So both are difficult at different stages. The same way, that's why you see when parents want to start scaling and the children start growing, you see them, they feel empty because they're moving into a new skill. I always say that this principle that gave you your first 1 million will not be the principle that give you your first 100 million. The framework that gave you your first 1 million pounds will not give you your first 100 million pounds. Never. And the one that gave you your first 100 million pounds will not give you your first 1 billion pounds. Never. So you have to, that what they call, the one gives you growth, the other one gives you scale by technology, the other one gives you scale by leverage. Okay?
Exactly.
So scale by growth, you can do things, be productive, The other scale, you're using technology, amplifying this, efficiency, ERPs, CRM, these are all beautiful. Then you hit the 100 million mark. You can't do much again. But you step back and also scale with leverage. So if we brought a company to the stock market, okay, our conversation becomes different. That is why for every business has 3 levels of three different levels of registration in every part of the world, mostly. So one is business name, the other one is limited liability company, the other one is public. Okay, PLC. Now, we're not going through the non-for-profit. I'm talking about the business value chain. So when you are in business name, you are self-employed. Okay, because it's you. And you are selling your skills, your competence. That's what you're selling. You're offering services in the name of your company. So you're selling your time, your skills, your competence. But if you register a limited liability company, which I see most people still do, they register a limited liability company, but they still work it as if they are a business owner. But now, if you look at the limited liability company, you now have an option, not just of selling your services, but selling part of the company. If it's in Nigeria, you have 50 investor slots. Meaning now you sell services, but you can sell companies. You have unlimited service to sell plus 50 slots of your company. So you can talk to 50 people to invest 1 million. That's 15 million. But some people don't know the possibilities in that. But that's why when you want to register, they ask you, what is your share capital? It's not how much you've made, but how you perceive the company. It's how you mean that. But people don't even know what they give me the lowest one because they don't know what it is. Because they want to register the lowest one. And they move it. But now if you haven't sold to 50 investors, you can never go PLC, because PLC is now selling to unlimited investors. And now the conversation is different. The other one you're talking about services, how efficient we are, this. The other one, PLC, you're talking about valuation. The other one, you're talking about valuation and services. Primarily, you're talking about valuation in PLC. You're saying our company is worth this. So we are going to bring out 10% of this company worth £1 billion, and we break it into £2 for so and so unit shares. So you see what you're selling. So you see the company is fixated on selling the company, not the product. So you know where you belong by what you sell. If you're selling companies, if you're selling products, you should grow. When you start selling the company, you have to start thinking of scale. Does that make sense? So you can scale by leverage. The other one, scale by efficiency. So I build cars, but I scale using machinery. So we automate many things with scale. Okay? You have saved, you have all this technology, but scale by leverage is where lots of business people do not understand. Because once you move into that place, you move from being a business to a corporation most of the time.
Very true.
And at that point, you have built something bigger than you. And if you are the CEO of that company, it becomes an error for you to show up at work every day. Because a CEO of a thriving company has no business showing up at work every day. Maximum show up 2 times on the office, because you have more important things to do as the CEO of a corporation, which is building relationships, government engagement, lobbying, playing golf, doing things at a level that will sustain the business. But I see people who their businesses need to grow. They start saying, don't work in the business, work on the business. No. When the business has not started, you work in the business, grow it. Once it grows, work on the business, not in the business. But you cannot work on a business that you haven't grown. It's not a business.
Correct.
Does that make sense? Does that answer the question for people?
Okay, that's spot on. I couldn't add more, because you just used the word when you were discussing. Actually, I was going to say, the other word that you can use to help you explain scaling is leveraging, which you mentioned straight on. And I said that's spot on, because I mean, you can grow as much as you want, but you can only scale by collaboration, leveraging, getting people involved. If you can do 1,000, and that's all you can do. For you to do 1,000, you must have been able to do 100, 200. You are growing to 1,000. But if you want to do 10,000, you need 10 of you to do the same thing. And that's powerful. Thank you. That's a model of growth. Yes. Thank you. So yes, this is also explaining what you have said, which is fantastic in terms of, I think this is when you are describing and trying to explain what the customer and consumer concept is about. Customer at the point of exchange in terms of marketing, and of course, consumer at the point of satisfaction. That's well explained. And then, of course, the system analysis. Professor Devi also says vertical, not a combination of backward and forward growth.
So when we look at vertical, we know that vertical could be upward and downwards. Horizontal could be forward and backwards. But vertical and horizontal could be forward and backward. So vertical is a function of up and down. Okay? But not forward and backward. They're 2 different conversations. Completely different frameworks that support them. Completely different product line that support them. And that's why companies don't compete on horizontal level, real companies. And that's why somebody told me, I said, is Apple in competition with Samsung? I said, they are not. They are not in the same industry. They have where the industry overlap, but they are not in the same industry. Because Apple doesn't have air conditioners. Apple doesn't have fridge. It might shock you that if you get to the home of the Apple CEO, you might find a Samsung fridge. They are not in competition. They don't hate themselves. In fact, the truth of the matter is that Apple's screen is built by Samsung. People don't know. People don't know that Apple screens are built by Samsung. People do not know that Rolls-Royce engine is BMW, but Rolls-Royce engine is BMW. But Rolls-Royce does not build engine for Rolls-Royce. They build engine for Boeing. So Rolls-Royce know that we are better off building engine for aeroplane than using that competence to build engine for our car. So rather have BMW build engine for our car while we use that engine and build for aeroplane. They understand this game, so they don't compete on horizontal products. They don't compete on that level. They collaborate there because the battle is a different game. It's not a fight. The battlefield is not where they are fighting. They know where they are fighting. If you're in a horizontal game, you fight all the battles at that level. It's stressful. It's not you. I said even this battle you see between nations, you will shock you. It will shock you. In the next 1 year, you see Donald Trump having dinner with the president of Iran. Because the battle was never what you think was the battle in the first place. It's never the same at all. It's never the same. Never the same. So when people understand this, you can now see that you still here. I want to pay attention to the war. Because the war you think it's horizontal. No, it's vertical. Today is Friday. I want you to go study the stock market. After the stock market, something else will happen. It's a game of stock market. This is not this thing has nothing. This is a market battle. This is a market battle that's going on. This war has nothing to do with any ideology. It's market battle. It's market battle. So once you understand that, and you know whether you're playing vertical or horizontal, and once you get it, they don't even meet themselves on the road. They don't even meet themselves on the road. One bit. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Quick one. That's a very good one. Excellent one. Very good. And I think I like the strategy behind that. I think it's for top minds, if you like. Yes, while Prof was talking about the difference, how is it different from range and line? I think he has made it clear.
Okay, sorry, I think I've got a visitor pop in. I've got a visitor pop in. Can you mute me for a second? Yeah. Can you mute me?
Yes, I can. So just keep your question coming. I'm just about to present Professor Bosede's clarification on the point he was making, and then of course waiting for our guest speaker to address that. So yes, if you have questions, please send it in. Let's look at it together. Yes. Let me check.
I'm back.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I've got a distraction.
Yes.
It was very important.
Yeah, that's
I was short my time.
All right, that's all right. So yes, I said Prof was trying to when he was talking about the range, range and line. Yes, it's just made the clarification where he said yes, he's trying to see how horizontal and vertical look using range and line to explain two concepts in business. Okay, particularly when you look at your horizontal line and vertical, then it's trying to see how horizontal and vertical look using range and line to explain the two concepts in business. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, Prof. So this is not a mathematical equation. This is not the range and line. We're not plotting the graphs here. Okay. So this is the two. Like I said, this spaces don't meet. So the academia and the real world do not meet themselves. Okay. One is the factory. One is the market. The academia is the factory. The market is the business environment. They don't understand themselves. Okay. All they do is to see how they could correlate, but you cannot completely do 1+1 is equals to 2 in the academia, but 1+1 in business is not equals to 2, right? So that's why in the people who, so it's not plotted in the range and line category. This is not an academic document. This is a business engagement flow. So it can be, there's no mathematical equation to it. It's not a science. It doesn't have to have same outcome. It's not unit based. Okay. The same way you could say, I want one car means one car. Okay. But that is a unit base. Okay. But when somebody says, I want a car, I want one Mercedes car is unit based. I want a car is not unit based. It could be any kind of car, it could be any kind of thing, it could be a toy car, it could be anything. Okay. Now it's not unit based, so it's not a mathematical equation that is derived on the range and line axis. It cannot be used on the minimum and maximum engagement to say, okay, what's the gap between this? How do you plot it between this? Because it keeps progressing. You cannot measure. That's why company flow charts are like this. You could never find any mathematical graph that is like this. It is like this because it keeps adding at different variables. But no business account is like this. It's always like this, because there are forces beyond the numbers that add up. So it's not a range and line conversation, right? So I understand that as a academia, you might be thinking of it in that angle. The angle we are looking at this is on outcome based, right? Not on mathematical equations, as that supposes.
Okay. Thank you for that, for throwing light on that. But there will be further question on that anyway. But let's go on. Yes, there's another one that says, what are the leading indicators that predict? This is InfoStream news from YouTube. So, what are the leading indicators that predict future growth?
There are multiple leading indicators that predict future. There are multiple. Okay, but see, that's why I always say, if anybody paid attention to the World Economic Forum report, you realize that nothing happens by chance. Everything that you see happening today has been predicted. Okay, there's consumer behavior. There's a lot of things, but consumer behavior is at the center of it, because by the end of the day, how people engage with all these things matters a lot, right? So consumer behavior is at the point of it. There are market forces that also predict future growth. There's also technological advancement. Okay, these are controlled. There are also external influences. There are internal metrics. That's a lot. Okay, I might not be able to list all of them, but there are multiple reports already. Go pull out World Economic Forum report 2026. Do Global Peace Index report. There are multiple reports that have shown you the trajectory of the pillars to watch out for. Okay, even the things that one of the things we do as a company is that we might not be able to produce this report, but we interpret some of these reports into pro and cons, so that we say, if this one advances, what are the implications of this growth? Okay, the implications of this growth means that if people start advancing in certain areas, I was even telling somebody today that what they call, we discussed about inflation, financial inflation, but nobody's talking about educational inflation. Educational inflation is what people have not predicted, but we are looking at it as a company, because if £1 can buy you something 40 years ago, it can buy you that same thing today. And educational inflation also means that if you have a particular certification, maybe a bachelor's degree program, you could have gotten yourself certain places in a career growth. But right now you have master's, MBA, you still do not advance in your career. So you have what they call educational inflation. Okay, meaning that we have too much education, but still do not have the required outcome from it. Okay, there are multiple things that you can pull out from this stuff as it's happening. But you see the trajectory of the report, see multiple people are going to school, but no jobs for them. So that people who actually didn't have MBA 30 years ago could pay off their home, live a better life. But people who have MBA right now cannot even afford to do what people who had MBA could do. So you could pull up all these metrics. So these metrics are hidden in plain sight. So you get them, create a cluster group of think tanks and interrogate them, or find a consulting firm and pay them, which is why we are paid, to bring out these things, so how it applies to your businesses and the next steps you're going to take. Okay, either to advance, retreat, collaborate, do this, or eliminate anything. It helps you design that. Okay, does that answer the question?
That's good. That's good. Thank you so much for that. Um, yes, I think you've been able to put concept or context to what you were saying, but Prof said this while you were talking that you may have to explain the vertical as you use in your presentation. I think you have addressed that. Um, and also the follow-up response to that was that why do we emphasize on broad down interface, in that? So maybe I should. Yes, it's still talking about the same thing you have mentioned, and well, again, the business or practical world can't be independent of the academia. All that are happening, in real life, draw from theory modified for the peculiarities of the environment, which is true, which is true. Also, the challenges with this alignment is curriculum issue. Okay, thank you. So yes, I don't know if there's any other question. I can't see question from LinkedIn. Maybe I've not checked my LinkedIn. Yeah, I can't see things coming from LinkedIn, but Facebook, yes, I've mentioned some on Facebook and some majority on YouTube tonight. It's been fantastic. I don't know if anybody wants to say anything. So, Dr. Emerie, yes, if there's going to be any other question, I will let you know. So, in your last words, what will you have to say regarding, um, yes, people? So for me, I think one of the things I've learned, of saying is to ensure that resilience in itself is talking about your survivor within this global dispensation. It's talking about what do you have to do to ensure that you are still delivering on your services or your product, and you are growing it with it. There will be a lot of things that are known and are unknown being thrown at you, like you said, unpredictable things. And the global world is so highly unpredictable. But what do you have to do to ensure that you can stay resilient? And I think that's where the concept of war that you mentioned is relevant to me, because that means you got to fight. You got to fight to make sure you stay and you occupy the space that you are supposed to be relevant. Keep doing what you have to do, and then of course make sure you are growing in it or scaling. So it's been a journey since you started your delivery. It's been fantastic. It's been an insight. It's been phenomenal, and I think it's been wonderful. A lot of people and most of our participants and attendees tonight, they've enjoyed your presentation and they've learned one or two things, and I'm sure they have the leverage or the benefit of actually having to go back and watch the replay, because it's going to be permanently on YouTube, Facebook, and of course on LinkedIn. So help yourself to go back at your leisure time, and then of course listen to it again. And then if you still want to make contribution on that or comment, please feel free to do so. You'd be amazed that we will pick those things up, and then of course be able to reach out to you should there be. So, Dr. Emerie, your last word. What do you have to tell us?
Very last word. I'll make it very short. Business is war. Business is war. Treat it as such. Business is war. Treat it as such.
Yeah. So keep fighting, guys. Business is war, you can see. And if you know what that means, many people, you don't know how long, and you wouldn't know how long it's going to take you to ensure that you can survive this phase. Because while you are battling with one situation, another is coming in. And like you said, many business projections this year, starting from January, their projection, their budgeting is thrown in the bin within the space of 3 months because of the war that is going on. Because fuel is changed, the way we relate to one another with one another is changed, all your business meetings in the Middle East and all that is changed, proposal is been delayed, things. So it's a lot of things. So you just have to keep fighting and keep pushing on. That's what it means to ensure that you can prepare some, some situation that you didn't plan for. And that's why I like the way you started up. That rather prepare for what you don't expect than to prepare for what you can expect, because that is what actually can throw you off balance. Because what you don't prepare for are actually going to test your level of resilience, really, and that's what you need to prepare for. And that's the key point of looking at it. Present a scenario that just if this happens, what do you do? And I'm sure many businesses don't. Their leverage on that is very, and their tolerance on that is very low, because they always have facts and figures based on past experiences to project for the future. But when you now begin to project for things that are not known, I think you begin to see business differently. Business is war and it should be fought. Yes, thank you. That's what Dari is saying there. So yes, friends, this masterclass explored resilience, providing a clear understanding of corporate resilience, the way it's been presented to us as a part of integrating it within the organization. It covers key risk and vulnerability, very key. Key risk and vulnerability, tools for improved decision making under uncertainty, and insight into leadership. And I think that's another level, that's another area that we need to look at. So culture and the role of digital transformation. You may also learn from real world examples that your guest speakers have touched on tonight, the best practice, and developed a personalized action plan. So I think from this we can go back to our drawing table, go back to your strategic table in your business, and begin to see what you have to do differently. And the earlier you start restructuring, rearranging, incorporating and leveraging on the information you have shared tonight or heard tonight, will help you to really prepare for the rest of the year. So, our guest speaker, we want to say thank you so much for your time, for your intellect, for your expertise, and for the willingness to share. I know you have a lot to share. We may have to bring you back to complete the slide at some point before the end of the year, which will be very important. So please just keep your mobile phone on. You may see our invite so soon. So thank you so much anyway for your time. And I know it's morning in Australia. And thank you, because you may have, I know you have your busy schedule, but thank you for taking time to help us with this morning as far as Australia is concerned. And to us in the other part of the globe, in Africa, and of course in Europe, we still say good evening to us. So thank you for attending and participating in this masterclass. We hope you find it thoughtful or thought-provoking and enlightening. The insight and strategies shared today should help you build resilience and adapt, enabling you to move forward, even after facing significant challenges. Ultimately, we hope that this masterclass has inspired you to move from awareness to action, ensuring you live not just informed, but you live prepared. The world needs the best version of you and your business. So if you have any questions, comments, inquiries, please feel free to visit our website, www.skillsmindset.com, and leave us a message. One of our team members will reach out to you. We also encourage you to subscribe and follow us on all our various platforms so you don't have to miss any of our episodes, whether on masterclass or podcast. But we urge you to approach every moment with courage and optimism. Keep pursuing your dreams, your business with knowledge and unwavering passion. So until we meet next time, next month, take care and stay focused. Goodbye for now. Thank you very much.
world is changing, and so does change. But the mind has the potential to capture the changing world and make every change count. At Skillsmindset, the leading global skills, strategy and corporate development company, we believe that the mind has the potential of transforming the man from obscurity to prominence. It's the reason why we make skills our business. At Skillsmindset, we stand for change, for development and for success. We challenge, we inspire and we lead. With Skillsmindset, your limit is just the beginning. Welcome to Skillsmindset. For more information about the great service we provide, please visit our website on www.skillsmindset.com or give us a call on our UK number on 07957 676 193. Better still, send us an email on info@skillsmindset.com. Skills Mindset. Challenging limits, maximising opportunities.